Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about measuring. How big a piece do you need? Do you need a small piece? Do you need a big piece? What size piece do you need for what type of part that you have? So let's kind of dive into that a little bit and just kind of give you guys what we normally look at and what we try to tell a lot of our customers whenever they're sizing out pieces, things like that. I know it's something very simple, but it is something that we do get asked a lot, especially like for larger pieces, even smaller pieces, things like that. So figure we'd shoot a video on it and show you guys kind of what we do here as well as what you can do, so then that way you know exactly how to measure everything out and what's a good rule of thumb to start with, right? So first thing is that you have your media. So your media is going to come normally either 1 meter wide like this film right here or 50 centimeter wide. Now if you do have a custom film, it will come in a 48-inch wide piece of film. So determining that will be the first thing, because some films will only come in one standard size, some of them come in two. So first thing is figure out how wide it is, so that way if you do have a bigger piece, you know which way it needs to go, if you have to put a seam in it, something like that. But in this case, we're going to be doing some of the smaller items, and so one of the first things that we're going to do is pretty much just a square box, right? These are a case that we've got that we're going to be dipping here later, but this one is going to be pretty standard. So what we're going to do is we've got some carbon fiber here that we're going to be dipping it in, and so this one we're pretty much just going to give ourselves about 2 inches or so, maybe 3 overlap overall. And so what I mean by that is that I've got, give or take, about 1 inch or 2 over here, 1 inch or 2 over here, and then probably about 1 inch or 2 all the way around. And so if I really wanted to cut it short, I could, and I can do like maybe 1/2 inch, something like that. But the way that I try to look at it is that if I am dipping a part, then I want to make sure that I have plenty of room for extra or overage, or let's say that this corner right here went straight down into the water. Well, that's no problem, because I can take this part and move it back over here and it still dips and it's still got a good hit on it. So if you cut it really short and really tight to the object itself, it's really hard to get that object to fit right in that area. And then the other thing is you got to account for stretch. So in this case, this one is pretty small. You've only got maybe 1 inch or so of stretch going up into it. But the biggest thing is that because it is a box and because it is a little bit more area on these right here, I always try to give myself a little bit extra, because the biggest thing is for us, the film is one of the cheapest items that you're going to be buying for the Hydrographics, because you've got your paint, you've got your primers, you've got all of your clear coat, and even the labor involved. So cutting a few extra inches really helps out. So in this case, we'll go ahead and cut this out and get it ready to be dipped, but we're going to cut it right about here, and so we'll just cut it across like that, and then we've already got our 1 inch or 2 space over here, and I've got pretty much about 1 inch or 2 over here, and that'll give me plenty of room. So whenever I am ready to go with the dip, I now have a piece of film that will fit perfectly for this part, and it'll still allow it to stretch all the way around. So on smaller, more rectangular pieces, something like that, 1 inch or 2 is pretty much all you need. So those are going to be the easy ones. Now let's talk a little bit about the more intricate ones, the more rounded ones. All right, so we'll set this off to the side, lay our film back out here, and now let's talk a little bit about a rounded object like a hard hat or a helmet. So on something like this, you're going to need, if you do it just by this right here, we'll give ourselves about 1 inch over here. We got 1 inch or so back there. And so normally we would cut this right here and right here. But the problem is that we've got quite a bit of height on this object. So we're actually going to need a lot more film than that. And so the way that we try to measure it is, it's very simple. We actually just take this hard hat right here and lay it all the way across. So then that way we know how much we need to get no stretch. Now again, something like this, as you can tell even from this dip right here, it's got stretch on it. There's no way around that. But to help minimize the stretch as much as possible, this is where having that little bit of extra media really helps out, because then you're not having to stretch it from here all the way back. So we'll go ahead, we'll give ourselves about an inch or two of room on one side, and then we'll roll it all the way around. So before we were cutting it about right here, but now we're actually going to give ourselves about 6 more inches of room to cut it about right here. And so pretty much looking at it from this, we now have an extra, say, 4 to 6 inches over here and an extra 4 to 6 inches over here, because whenever we laid this out, that's pretty much what we needed for us to get a good dip. And so we're going to do the exact same thing whenever we are going up and down as well. So in this case, this is not going to be the line that we're going to be using, and so now I'm going to set this down, give myself about an inch or so, inch or two is still fine, and then we're going to roll it back. So in reality, now my line has came from here and it's went up to right there. So in this case, I'm actually going to cut this right across through here and then right down like that, and of course right down like that. So now this is how much film we're going to need for this rounded object like that. And so the one thing to remember is that you probably won't use all of this film that you need, but by having this extra amount like that, it helps minimize the stretch whenever you do have a larger object like the actual hard hat or anything like that that's rounded. So whenever we go to dip this, we're still going to start about an inch or so away, and then we're just going to feed it in, and then as we feed it in, then those sides will help stretch up, but they won't stretch as much as if we would have cut it very close on the edges, and then of course it would have stretched way more than what's necessary. So in this case, for this hard hat, this is what we're going to need to dip this object. Okay, so now on to something that a lot of us do all the time, and that's going to be a cup. So one thing is that with a cup, you normally want to roll it. So go down in the water, go pretty much level with the water, and then turn it 180 degrees. The one thing to remember is that as you go down in the water with it, you don't want to just spin it like this. You actually want to roll it towards or away from you, or depending on which way you're going, but you want to roll it with the film coming in and out of the water. And so whenever you are sizing up your film, there's a couple of things to remember if you're doing these one at a time. So if we was to lay this out, and let's just say, just to make it easier for reference here, we'll take this line and we'll just put a piece of tape right here, and that will be our line, right? So we'll start this line right back here. So we'll come down, we'll have enough material to wrap up halfway right here, and then as we roll it around, then we can pretty much cut it right here. And so again, if we kind of go with what we was saying before on the inch or two of excess around, then we would need one right here, and then we would need a, let me just grab this here. We would need another piece right here. And so pretty much this would be our square. So that works great if you have hands that are about this big. Sometimes whenever you are cutting your film, you have to account for having your hands or having extra things like even a jig or something like that that is supposed to go into the water as well. So sometimes you actually have to just waste some film to be able to dip it correctly. And so this is one of those instances. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to give ourselves about 4 to 6 inches more than what this is already to be able to put our hands in here to dip it comfortably. Now, everybody has their own preference on how much extra that they use, and if you start doing them more and more, you'll start to see, okay, I need an extra 4 inches, I need an extra 8 inches. Some people will take a 1 meter wide, they'll cut it right down the middle, and then they know they have plenty of extra. But everybody is different, so that's something that you're going to have to try out and check on. But just for the sake of this, what we're going to do is just kind of show you how much we would normally use if we were going to be dipping this. And so in this case, I'm going to have my hand about right here, and so that means that I'm going to need at least an extra couple of inches on this one side just to be able to have my hand to roll like that. And as you can tell, I'm keeping it more in this silver area right here. And so again, the same thing whenever I have my hand in this side, I'm gonna have to have it at least out to right here. So then that way, as I go to roll inside the film itself, I have plenty of room to let my hands maneuver back and forth so I get the dip correctly. A lot of people will cut it short because they want to save money, and that's fine, totally understandable. But you're not really saving money, because if you mess up that dip, guess what? You just wasted more money. So in this case, we always try to give ourselves a little bit extra, just like what we've done here. So then that way we can comfortably dip the part in, roll it, and then we have a good hit coming out of the water and everything's good to go. So in this case right here, we'll take this right here, we'll allow a little bit of extra, about an inch or two up on this backside back here, and then we'll take the cup and then roll it just like this. And so once we roll it, you can see that that line has now went 180 degrees, because I'm going to dip it halfway down in the water and then I'm going to roll it another 180. So in this case, because it's right here, I'm actually going to cut the line right back here, give myself a little bit of extra play just in case. And like I said before, whenever I come out, I'm going to give myself extra to allow my hands, so then that way my film is actually this size right here. So in reality, just to dip the part, we could cut it right here. But for whenever we're actually dipping, because I can't have my hands just sitting like that, because I can't turn it like this or anything like that, because I'm so tight in the water, I have to have more room. So again, we open it up on this side, and it's mainly just on these two sides right here. You don't have to do it all the way around. So that way, whenever you go to dip it, everything comes out nice and clean. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know we always do. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd love to hear from you. And also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips and tricks videos. We do them on pretty much every week on Hydrographics, whether it be something simple, something very detailed, intricate, anything that we do here in the shop, we try to video it and show you guys, so that way you can up your game and be great at hydrographics. So I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts. We're making hydrographics great again. We'll see you guys next time.